Welcome to the One Body, One Life podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Jason Wan, lifestyle physical therapist and pain relief coach. We help specifically busy parents, professionals, and healthcare. Very special guest, and his name is Ray. And Ray has been one of my best clients. How Ray was able to go from severe back pain and allowing himself to get to a point where he is leaner, 27 pounds down at a very high level without pain as a limiting factor. So I hope that you really find a lot of inspiration for us and potentially getting specific one-to-one personalized help with your chronic pain. What you can do is go to the website go.flexdrj.com/apply. And what you can do is you can fill out a very simple application of pain to go.flexdrj.com/apply. And what you'll do is you'll be taken to an application page where you can see if you are a good out. Without further ado, let's get into the interview with Ray, a very emotional journey. And I find that this is something that I really take to heart. Ray.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, guys, as you guys know, I'm Dr. Jason Wan. I am a doctor of physical therapy specializing in orthopedics and sports. A lot of my clients mean the world to me, and a lot of my clients hopefully get very good and lifelong results. I've always been about helping my clients to feel stronger, more resilient, more pain-free, but also just have the physical and the mental capacity to do it on their own. And I think that's always how healthcare should be. And I actually have a really good, not just client, but actually a really good friend of mine who I grew up with. And his name's Ray. What's going on, Ray? How are you?
Yep, I'm doing well.
Good, man. So Ray, I know that we've had a lot of history. Maybe I can share a little bit about Ray. So me and Ray, we grew up together. I actually know his sister. We all grew up like in the same church. We're all from San Francisco. And yeah, I actually played a lot of basketball with Ray. Me and Ray always had a love and interest for basketball and lifting weights. But I know that there's been a couple things that have stopped you from doing certain things. So Ray, if you don't mind just sharing, first of all, not just about like how we work together, but just share a little bit about yourself and yeah, ultimately like how we know each other.
Oh yeah. So Jason pretty much knew my sister because they're the same age. So Jason's a couple years older than me. And I guess like I played a lot of basketball. So you guys basically took me in and let me play basketball with you guys. And you guys like made a team. I played with you guys. And I've worked with you before, like multiple times, not just for like my low back pain. Just like the community is pretty small in the church in basketball. You see the same faces around when you play basketball, especially like the Asian basketball community.
Yep.
You'll definitely run into the same people many times. But me and Jason actually played together for many years. A lot of tournaments, traveled together for tournaments. So that's how we know each other and we
Yeah.
work together.
Yeah. There's been a lot of funny moments, embarrassing moments going to Tahoe. And I think I remember this one moment where we all needed to go bathroom, but like the driver wasn't willing to pull over.
Yeah.
And then we had to go pee inside bottles. And I don't know, there's a lot of great memories. And ultimately, I know that because of our friendship and the way that we did things, there was a really a yearning for me to help you. And so, yeah, if you don't mind just sharing, I know that it can bring back like the moments of where you really felt like you were in a bad place. But do you mind just sharing just like how overall you were feeling before you're working with me?
I felt pretty bad. Like every day, I just thought I can't do the things I love anymore. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to do them again. I don't know if I could even just get out of bed the next day because before I worked with you, I hurt my back pretty bad. And it was like a reoccurring thing, but the last one just took me out completely. Before I worked with you, I felt pretty helpless. I felt like I had no idea what was going to happen. Surgery was definitely on the table. I got an MRI. I saw every type of alternative medicine per se, and like chiropractor, acupuncture, herbalist. I went to another physical therapist and nothing worked. And I really thought that surgery was very likely. Like I was first going to get like the steroid injection, and
Mm-hmm.
then if that failed, then it was surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was before I worked with you.
Do you mind sharing about like the previous injuries? Because I know that a lot of people that might be listening, people hurt their back for various reasons. They're
Yeah.
either picking up something or they play a sport and then all of a sudden they cram some. So like how did you hurt yourself?
I think my back started hurting during COVID. Like there was like like I heard it probably 3 times in a row before the last one, where it
Hmm.
was like I would heard it, oh, I was out for 1 week. The next time I heard it, I was out for 3 weeks, and then
Hmm.
every time just got longer. And then the last time it lasted almost a year, and that's when I started working with you. But I think one of the times I heard it from picking up an empty box,
Mm.
and then I think the time that I really heard it the last time was I went down a water slide in Hawaii, and I guess like the turn was very like sudden, and it was such a quick jerk
Mm.
that it just was such a harsh kink that I felt it, but then it didn't, like it was like gradually building up for the next few hours, and then next thing I knew I was bedridden.
Yeah,
So
got
I
it.
think like during COVID, a lot of people let themselves go. We didn't have like gym access. Like I wasn't lifting like I was. Like my body definitely took a hit.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't as strong. And I think one of the other times I hurt my back, it was like 2 days after I did a pretty strenuous hike in Yosemite.
Hmm.
So I think like it was like I wasn't squatting and deadlifting like I was pre-COVID. And then I went on this like 10, 12-mile hike with all that impact on the spine. And by the end of it, like my body couldn't handle it. So that was another time I injured it. So I just
Yeah.
know that I could pinpoint every time I heard it. And
Yep.
every single one of them was during COVID when I
Hmm.
wasn't really lifting how I used to,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. With regards to like the repeat injuries, do you
Yeah.
feel every single time, did it feel like a, oh shit, here it is again? Did it feel like, I don't know, did it feel like you were feeling your age, or what was the thoughts around what you're feeling every single time it occurred?
Every time it occurred, I was like, here it goes again. I have no idea how long this one's gonna last. It could last from 2 days to a week. And then even the last one, when I heard it, I was like, I should be good in 2 weeks. And then it just kept getting dragged longer and longer. And I never had sciatica. I had sciatica. It was like burning sensation down my leg,
Hmm.
wakes me up in the middle of the night.
Hmm.
And it was just so uncertain. And it was just like, even when if I get better, it's probably gonna happen again. And
Yeah.
it was just like constantly, it was like back to back injuries. And it was all probably within 1 or 2 years where it just kept getting hurt. So
And
it,
this is not coming, just it's not even coming from a standpoint of like, you're this person that's perceived as like this weak individual that picks up something and they hurt their back, right? Because from my understanding, and if you guys don't know, Ray's probably one of the strongest dudes. Like when we play against each other, it was always like Ray would hate to get guarded by me because I'd be pushing and
yeah,
sludging you around, and
yeah.
I would try to hold my ground. But then Ray was just always this dude that was like considered the one of the strongest bulls like in basketball. So overall, considering like where you were before, which was a pretty strong athlete, always looked as the dude that like nobody wants to mess with. Like, how is that going from that standpoint to where you were like after the 10 to 12 mile hike, and where the pain, it just seemingly felt like it wasn't going to go away?
It felt pretty bad. Like I felt pretty weak because, like you said, I was probably one of the first people in my friend group to start like working out like at 15, 16. So I've always
Right.
been like stronger than most people around
Yep.
me. So for me to go down like that as someone who's always active, like I was always lifting, I was always playing basketball, snowboarding, hiking, like I
Yep.
was pretty much as active as you could be, like day in, day out. So when that got taken away from me, I was just like, what happened to me? Like I'm only like 28 at this point,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, how am I gonna live the rest of my life like this? Like just back to back injuries, and it's just I'm just probably never gonna do anything again almost.
No, yeah, and I hear that all the time, and those are 2 points I want to hit on later, which is like more like the how we were able to do the strength training, but also some of the psychosocial things that we
Yeah.
continuously hit on. But let's talk about some of those various treatments that you tried. What sort of like why did you feel, as far as from an intervention standpoint? I think every practitioner has their own methods through the madness. Everything works in certain ways. I think there's chiropractic and I think that everything serves a purpose. And whether it's like somebody for migraines, I might not be the best person for migraines. It might be somebody that specifically works on the neck. What do you feel is like missing as far as like from some of the treatments that you tried? What was things that you felt like, okay, I got some relief, but it didn't really last? And why was that?
I think like I didn't feel like they had me in their best interest. Like
Mm,
every time I went to some sort of treatment, I felt like their goal was to get me to come back. Even for the chiropractor, they just be like, "Oh, it's just like muscle scar, like scar tissue that just needs to get rubbed out. You just need to keep coming back." And then
mhm,
like sooner or later, I'm like, this isn't working out. I would ask them like how many times. They're like, oh, like maybe 10 or something. Like they would try to give me a number, but obviously every time it wasn't helping. And then with the acupuncture, it was the same deal. He tried to make it sound like, oh, like we like first I found him because he said he takes our insurance. Then he would just be like, okay, we have to bill you the full amount first. So you have to pay the full amount, and then we'll basically get you reimbursed after 10 sessions. And then 10
mhm,
sessions come. I'm like, yo, where's my money? And then he's like, oh, I got into an argument with my wife. Apparently, we don't take your insurance and this and that. And I was pretty upset, but I never heard from him again.
mhm.
Like, he didn't even care to ask me if I was okay again or
Right.
anything. It was basically, I'm gonna get him in for 10 sessions at least, and then I got mine from him. Because what do you say after that? As a healthcare, like, as a professional, that's pretty unacceptable. I felt like these guys are just here just to try to get people to come back and make, like, quick bucks. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would say even I tried physical therapy, but it was with, like, someone else who was just a very different built from me. It was like a female physical therapist, and I
Mhm,
think one of the I think I saw you post before, find someone who has, like, an image of the body that's, like, similar to yours or someone you want to have, like, a body that you want to have, and I thought that went, like, a really long way. Obviously, if I had, like a 60-year-old, like, physical therapist trying to teach
right.
me how to get better, it probably wouldn't work out. And
Yep.
I think, like, a lot of the exercises I was doing, they were just, like, stretching or band exercise. It was stuff that was, like, just really not appealing to me, and I felt like she couldn't relate to me on that kinda level
Yeah.
because you're just, like, your body's different, and it's not I'm not gonna say, like, it was wrong, but I
Mhm.
think it just didn't work for me
Yeah.
because I don't feel like they understood, like, how my body works or, like, my body frame and things like that. So I felt like that went a huge like, a long way when I think you posted that one time, and I was like, I think I'm gonna reach out because I felt like I got scammed from the other 2, and I'm like, I can't just pick any physical therapist because not anyone can relate to you like that.
Right.
And yeah, those were my experiences with the other stuff, so
Yeah. I will definitely say just as a disclaimer and for full transparency for anybody that's listening, it's that there are definitely great acupuncturists out there. There are
yeah.
great chiropractors out there. There are great pain management doctors out there. I think everybody in their own mind believes that they're great, right?
Yeah.
But we know that it's not necessarily created equal. There are definitely chiropractors that believe that are doing a great job, but then they're slowly creating reliance, right? They're like, how many sessions do you need? And even with physical therapists, there are definitely physical therapists that are out there that are definitely they want the best for you, but they also want you to keep going. And I've said that time and time again. It's a bad business model, but my goal is to see my clients as little as possible. And if I'm doing that, that means that I am equipping Ray and the rest of my clients with every necessary tool that's within my power so that they don't need me anymore. I think that's honestly how healthcare should be. And I know that's not how it is with every single practitioner.
Yeah.
So and as far as emulating the characteristics, I've said that, and I do believe that's 100% transparent. Is that if I get a ballerina in my office, I am probably not going to be the best person to treat them. Right? They
Yeah.
need these flexibility and these balance things that I probably can help them, but it would be better suited for a physical therapist that's also a gymnast or an acrobatics.
Background and has done it themselves, so
Exactly. So with that being said, I think why me and Ray started working together is because I do emulate certain characteristics that he wanted, which is either to be stronger, to be lifting heavier in the gym, to be potential. We said we had the potential to play basketball again, even though I know you're like, I'm not sure if I'll ever play.
Yeah.
I remember we had that conversation. I'm not sure if I'll ever hoop again. That's just like a recreational thing. But with that being said, now I appreciate that you have the capacity. Like if you wanted to, you can
Yeah.
play a full game and
Yeah.
be able to do that.
I have. So I played 2 seasons last year in one of the UCSF league.
And you're 30 now, right?
32. So
Hey,
yeah.
why are you holding out on me, man? There's a 30 and over league that's calling out your name.
It's just one of those things where I won't it's like injuries are out of my control. It's up to the other people around me.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
I
it's
get
like
you.
it's
Like
not it's like
hiking, that's all within your control. Basketball has these
yeah,
stupid players that might just
yeah. Jump under
undercut you.
you or yeah.
In the 30 and over league, there's not going to be anybody that's really going to be, they're not going to be moving us quick. But yeah, Ray, with regards to what were some of the things that pushed you to work with me outside of the fact that maybe just emulating the same characteristics that you might want, but what ultimately pushed you to go in this direction?
At right before I reached out to you, I was pretty sure I was getting a steroid injection
Hmm.
because I tried 4 or 5 different things. I like the doctors at UCSF, like the neurosurgery and like their pain management was like, you have a huge herniated disc. I don't see how it's gonna go back in. There's no way around it. And to them, at that point, I was like, honestly, I'm probably gonna get surgery. And I'd rather try your approach because I never had an approach where they were like lift and load the spine. Because if anything, everyone was like, you need to decompress the
Decompress, right?
spine
All
so it
that.
goes back in. So like loading it made no sense to anyone. But to me, I was like, I'm probably getting surgery anyways. I might as well go for it. And the thing that really made me like driven for this was like, if I get surgery, all I know is surgery. If I hurt it again, I think the only way out is surgery again.
Yeah.
And if I get out of this on my own through strength training, if I hurt it again, I know how to get out of it. Because I'm not gonna say like the last like 2 years I never hurt my back again. I've definitely tweaked it every now and then, but I
Hmm.
knew how to get out of it. I wasn't completely immobile. I was like I was still able to do certain exercises and stretches that I like kept with me that made me feel better instantly. And I never had an injury more than 3 days since. Like I probably might have tweaked it 2 or 3 more times, but every time I found my way out of it. And I
Yeah.
think that was huge for me because I was like, if I do surgery, that I'm probably gonna get surgery again the next time I hurt it. But now it's I know how to get myself out of it on my own.
Yeah.
And that's what really drew me.
I
So
love that. Yeah, you actually, I feel like you taught me definitely something just now. I've said this in my post before that people that actually seek out an MRI to see what's going on the inside are 4 times more likely to get an injection or surgery. That's actually real facts, right? So
yeah,
the fact that you got an MRI, knew that you got I think it was a disc sequestration. If you guys don't know what that is legitimately one of the most severe herniations out there. And I'm glad that you don't identify as that anymore. It's like way in the past, but that can clearly weigh on somebody mentally, right? It's like
yeah,
knowing that you have a piece of your disc material that is contacting other areas that are sending nerve pain down your leg. That's pretty scary stuff for anybody that gets an MRI that understands. If you got an MRI before on your back and you hear that information, what is that likely to do? Is that going to cause you to feel empowered, or is that going to cause a sense of fear, right?
yeah,
Nobody's really going to feel empowered after that. If
yeah,
anything, they're going to feel the worst. Like,
yeah,
and so that makes it more likely to get an injection or surgery once. And again, you just said to yourself, if I get surgery this time and I feel better, and let's say you get better, right? So, oh, I
yeah,
feel better, but then you tweak it again.
yeah,
It is a downhill slope where you're perpetuating the same thoughts of,
yeah.
okay, the way that I got out of this last time was going to get surgery. And then you're just continuing to carve out things until maybe surgery stops working, right?
And even if I did get surgery, say I did get surgery, I think I wouldn't have lived my life the same after. I would have just lived on the safe side forever. I would be like, I already got surgery. That's it. I'm not even going to try to do this. I'm not even going to try to do that anymore.
Yeah,
That
and
that was
you live in a state of more so like protection
yeah.
versus
It's like
trusting.
preserve it
Yep.
right now. That's how I would have lived for sure. So
Yeah, there's big words out there. I really feel that words harm and that words can empower. And I think from our journey together, right,
yeah,
it's always been words of empowerment. And so I want to tell you as well as other people what words of empowerment are. Is essentially it's words that really push somebody to do it themselves, to create
yeah,
autonomy, I've heard this so many times where if somebody hurts their back, it's do this core exercise to protect your back. And you might not even blink an eye and be like, there's nothing really wrong with that statement. But there's better statements. There, you could be like, do this exercise in order to trust your back again, right? Because if you're thinking about protecting, then essentially you're just saying like, well, protecting is still pulling away. It's still somewhat in this. It's put in the context of a state of fear.
Yeah.
Versus if I say, do this deadlift so that you can trust that you can jump again, that you can trust that you can snowboard and hike again,
Yeah.
versus saying this is to help protect your back. So you're just going to keep your back neutral all the time, all the damn time. And that's still where I think there's certain PTs that still don't get that right, where they don't understand that their words can still bring a sense of empowerment or even a state of hesitancy, anxiety, or fear. So that being said, Ray, let's touch on obviously we love strength training. And I know I'd love to hear what you're doing nowadays, but with regards to many times, like when you hit those psychological barriers, and even when we were working together, there was still those times where you're like, oh, my back feels sore after this, or I'm flaring myself up.
Yeah.
What was some of the experiences in which like some of the things that I told you in order to keep pushing forward?
I think something that has stuck with me since was when you were saying look for windows of opportunity. So it's like some days you might feel like you can, like it would be out of your range, but if it felt good, I would go for it on those
Yeah.
days. Like I wouldn't just play it safe on days where I felt like I felt better. It was definitely an opportunity to go the next step. And then from that, you build on the next step the next time you have the opportunity. Like I did it last time. There's no reason why I can't do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was huge, like psychologically for me to keep going is I feel good today. So like I could do it. And then next time I'd be like, I did it last time and I feel good today. So I could probably do it again plus some. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's how I kept building on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The window of opportunity is something that like I think from the research that I've done, I took this one article that talked about this window of opportunity, and what essentially means is that as let's say your window is like this large, as large as this Zoom screen, right? And then as you get hurt, let's say you hurt your lower back,
Yeah.
that window at least temporarily becomes smaller, right?
Yeah.
And the window becomes smaller, not just due to injury, but also like repeat injury. So you get a sense of, oh, I'm feeling better. And then you tweak it again. And then that window gets smaller. But that window gets smaller also if you start to second guess yourself. If you start to be like, I shouldn't run anymore. That window becomes even smaller if somebody says, you have a misaligned back and you need to like see me all the time. That window gets even smaller. That window gets even smaller if you, especially when you get the MRI
Yeah.
and it says you got your damaged goods, you got like a huge disc herniation. That window that was here months ago then becomes this.
Yeah.
And so feeding your mind with a mixture of exercise and verbiage and encouragement slowly opened up that window, which I'm glad that you took that out. What other kind of like psychological things do you feel like you took away from our time working together?
Not all pain is bad. That was something I'd be like, this is causing discomfort, but it was
Mhm.
like, it was still tolerable. Just because it hurt a little bit doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. And I think that helped me get through it in the beginning, like huge. Because I know, like, when you're injured, you don't want to do anything that makes it feel worse. That's how everybody is.
Yep.
But you taught me, like, is it like a 5 out of 10 or is it like a 8 out of 10? And then if it's manageable, you can do it. And then that's what just builds the tolerance back. And then you just build on that.
For sure.
So
Yes. So everyone knows the common adage, just if it hurts, don't do it. Right.
yeah, yeah.
And so
So
that I'm sure that was something that you definitely believed, and you're like, okay, if something hurts, like I gotta
yeah,
like
like
step on the brake right away,
yeah.
right?
Every time something would flare, I'm like, hey, this is making me flare up. Like I don't know if I should do this. Like that. I did message you a lot in the early stages about that. I'm like, this is not feeling good. This is not feeling good. But then it wasn't like things that would make me handicapped. You just had to stick through it. Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
You
it's about. Because even like people who are injured now, they ask me like, oh, like what's the secret or this or that. And I'm just like, honestly, like no one out there is gonna heal you like that. Like even if you saw like any PT or they gave you the best information on your own, unless you're putting in the work day in, day out to get back to where you want to be, it doesn't matter.
I totally agree with that. I would definitely compliment you in saying that I already knew from our friendship and time working together is that I already knew you were going to be consistent. Consistency wasn't the consistency wasn't the thing that you're going to lack, right? Because I every client that I take on, they're going to lack something, right? It's going to
Yeah,
lack like consistency. It's lacking of habits. It's
yeah,
lacking I don't know, lacking equipment, right? Some
yeah,
people don't have a gym, right? So
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, you're not going to make as much progress without weights, but you weren't going to lack in consistency. But what I did definitely feel was that, as far as from your experience of just taking 2 steps forward and then 3 to 10 steps back every single
yeah,
time, I knew that there was going to be this sense of like, there's going to be this block of fear and this like, this
yeah.
thing that you couldn't
And
overcome.
confidence too.
So yeah, they're like when I got those messages from you and you're like, okay, Jay, I think I need to pump on the brakes. I had to consistently get your foot off the brake,
Yeah,
right? And say it's okay. Like
yeah,
you need to stay brutally consistent with this. And I think some people aren't willing to do that. It's
yeah,
like you can have a good set of exercises, you can have the roadmap, you can have the mobility and the strength things, but sometimes if you don't have good accountability and somebody that will legitimately support you and be just like whenever you need the help, whenever you're hitting these roadblocks, is for somebody to just clear that roadblock immediately. That's honestly something that I really do pride myself in. I support my clients wholeheartedly, and I hope that you felt that as well.
yeah. I definitely did.
Yeah. What do you feel was like? What do you feel is like the turning point? I don't know if you can recollect that. Going from you hit even a couple roadblocks mentally and physically working with me in the beginning. But then when was, if you can think of it, when was the time where you're like, okay, I'm definitely turning over like a new leaf. Like I can definitely feel that I am on a good path and I'm snowballing in the right direction. Do you remember that?
I think is when I hit 2 plates on front squats.
Okay.
And I was like, "There's no way, like, I'm handicapped
There's
to
no
like."
way I'm getting surgery now, right?
Yeah, and then I think that was it, and then the next week I turned it into back squats because we never touched on that
Right.
during because it was so I guess it was just something that I wasn't ready for,
Sure.
and then that's when I turned it to back squats, and then it just was like it just been, like, just downhill, like, rolling since,
Nice.
so
Nice. Yeah. What do you, amongst some of the things that we, obviously you're doing great for the most part, you're pain free now. Dating back to when we were working together, and that I know that was a few months ago. What do you feel has been like the biggest takeaway of anything? Whether that's like a biggest win or like a biggest just a mental note that you'll never forget. What would you say is like the biggest takeaway from our experience?
it's just that I will be able to find a way out of it whenever I get injured.
Yeah,
That's there's no price you could put on that. 'Cause
yeah.
I was like, I can always figure it out now, or I know that I can. Like, just because it's hurt doesn't mean I have to lay in bed all day. Yeah.
That's good, man. Because that's the part that I think means the world to me the most. And I think as far as like my job and what I do, it's always been a sense of giving somebody full autonomy over their own. It's like essentially an analogy that I like to use, and hopefully you can resonate with this too, Ray, is it's like you're driving a car and you could have a chauffeur, you could have like an Uber or Lyft, right? So like basically you sit in the back seat and then somebody's driving you. And I think that's great. That's great once in a while to
Yeah.
drive you from NorCal to SoCal and you don't have to put in any work, right?
Yeah.
It's like that'd be great. But the truth is that do you really know how to get from point A to point B on your own?
Yeah.
It's tough because if you don't know how you got from NorCal to SoCal, then how do you expect to get back? Or how do you expect to navigate? And there's gonna be twists and turns, there's gonna be different routes. What if a route gets cut off? Will you know how to navigate that? And I think that's also very analogous to how I approach physical therapy or approach my how I help my clients is I give them strength training, I give them exercises, I give you the keys to drive your own car,
Yeah.
right? You can drive me. I can sit in the back and you can drive your own car. And what that means is that when, if and when, and Ray, you're considering you're a freaking athlete and you do a whole bunch of crazy stuff nowadays, you're probably going to hit some sort of roadblock. You're going to hit some sort of injury
Yeah.
that may happen again. You might sprain your ankle, do something.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that if I gave you the keys, is that if you have the keys, you essentially can have the mindset to work around it, work through it. This doesn't have to be something that like, oh, this is going to end me the rest of my life. But you essentially you learn how to fix your own issues. You learn how to fix your own car.
Yeah.
And while it did take more work, it literally took you what, months? It took you a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But I think that path feels so much more meaningful. Your journey feels so much more meaningful knowing that you did that yourself, right?
Yeah. I think even when you gave me the keys, like when we finished working, I didn't even feel like I was ready to stop. Remember, I was like, it still hurts. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this on my own, but I just stuck with it. And then I got out of it like completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
didn't let you go and I was like, hey, let's do this for another
Yeah.
3 months, it would have kind of felt like the same perpetuating.
Yeah.
You're gonna
I
start
asked
relying on
you
me,
for
right?
I asked you for extra sessions and you're like, we could. It wasn't necessary. And it really wasn't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Eventually you gotta leave the nest, dude. And I'm obviously deathly proud of you. I hope that considering that we're having this conversation, I hope to continue to either weight train or see you in the
Yeah.
gym or do some sort of league with you. I'm sure that journey, I hope that doesn't stop. But what I'm just curious, what are you doing nowadays, man? I know we're catching up on this conversation. So you mind telling us like what are some of the big feats that you're accomplishing now? What are you achieving at this point?
I've been backpacking again. I'm actually backpacking this weekend in Yosemite for probably like 20 miles, probably like 4,000 feet elevation gain.
Okay.
I did Havasu Falls 2 weeks ago in Arizona. That was like probably got 40 miles in that week. My deadlifts are like well over 400. Squats are 3, 5-ish, but
Nice.
all my lifts are up but I started cutting like a couple months ago
Yeah.
and all the strength isn't like quite where it used to be, but then I'm able to run like 10 miles pain free.
Nice.
Like I could pretty much do anything I want active, but I am like avoiding contact sports because that's out of my control. So I can only control so much.
Yeah.
So yeah. And just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
finding things that are worth it. Like I'm not gonna I think that's something I learned is like just being smarter. Like
Mhm.
I'm not invincible. Like I'm not gonna jump off like a 30-foot jump snowboarding and do like a backflip or
Right.
there's like things that I know I'm not going to do anymore and that's fine. Like I might things like that I'm going to avoid. I'm not going to go like cliff jumping off 50, 60 feet anymore. But it's just figuring out what is worth it and what I want to work towards and just being smart too. And something I never did before was listen to my body. So
Mhm.
that was definitely something that got me in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, training smart, but at the same
yeah,
time, still training hard enough for your
yeah,
longevity, I think is critical.
yeah,
So being able to increase your weights and your volume by 5, 10 pounds,
yeah,
every few weeks, I think that's all within your control. I agree. Just play if you are going to play sports, play with players that actually know how to play and ones
yeah,
that aren't going to undercut you or anything like that.
yeah,
And I'm happy. I'm almost jealous. I have another kid on the way. I don't know if I told you I have another kid on the way in
yeah,
October. So 2 kids, it will be very hard for me to do those long hikes and things.
yeah,
So considering
yeah.
I have to
Kind
take
of
care of
take
them.
advantage of everything now.
Yep. And you're an
So
uncle as well now, right? You're
a couple of like three nieces now. So
there you go. There you go. Anyways, Ray, I want to wrap things up. I want to be mindful of your time, but just one or a couple more questions. Just considering that I feel like you're definitely one of the best examples for somebody that has had a very severe injury, very debilitating at a young age, had this mindset of, okay, is this going to be the end of me? Is this ever going to stop? And you literally made it out, right? You're literally at a point where you're leaner, you're stronger, you're more resilient than you've ever been. But not everyone's like you, right? Not everyone's going to have that same consistency and drive. And some people won't have the support systems that you did.
yeah,
But let's say hypothetically, if there was somebody that was very much in your shoes, had very chronic debilitating back pain, it doesn't matter what age, but if they were to walking down the street, you see them struggling, what would you tell them, especially if they are feeling like worried, anxious, fearful of living with this forever, or even contemplating more invasive interventions out there? What would you say to that person?
I would definitely tell them to look for someone whose like image they want to have, whether that's like physically or just like whatever is like however they look or they're built, they're strong, or they do stuff you want to do. And You need guidance. Like, you're not gonna be able to get out of it without it, like, for sure. And whatever the plan is, because everybody's body's different, I don't think what I did is gonna work for someone else.
Hmm.
Like, you have to really just have a goal on what you want. For me, it was like I loved all these things that were active, and when it got taken away from me, I felt like I lost a huge part of my life,
Right.
and it like that's what drove me, and it's what would drive you. Whether it's if you have a kid, it might be like I want to play with them, like I want to
Hmm.
like take them to a park and go down the slides or like piggyback rides and stuff. Like, you need to find something to drive you, and you need to find someone who will take you there, and you need to really just go through the motions of it. There's no quick healing. It took a lot of effort from me. Like, I definitely put in the work. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not even gonna be like shy around that. Like,
Yeah.
I was day in, day out in the gym. Like,
Yep.
even like when I left some of your sessions, you'd be like, cardio's okay. I would be on the elliptical. I'd be swimming. Like, I can't
Yep.
run, but I'm doing something. And then you just need to find something that drives you, and you need to find guidance.
For
So
sure. Yeah, yeah. So guidance, and I think the really great point that you hit on, and I say this to my clients all the time, and I know I guess I knew right from the get go what was your sense of why. You can know what to do, you can know how to do it, right? So you can know what is the exercises,
yeah,
how I show you how to do it. But if you honestly you don't know why you're doing it, if you don't have a strong sense of why, you are likely going to give up, or you're likely going to do it for a little bit and then you're going to stop doing it
yeah,
altogether. When you look at like how you identified as yourself, like I said, you're definitely one of the strongest dudes
yeah,
that I know by far. And when we did start working together and you're in the state of feeling fragile, or like feeling
yeah.
whatever, your mindset, physically, you're
Like,
feeling fragile.
depressing. For me, it was very depressing to like every day after work, I would go to the gym for 2, 3 hours. And then when that got taken away, I didn't know what to do. I was just
Yeah.
watching TV for like on my stomach.
Right.
So I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. So like just having that why and just understanding that the why really drives you to have those kind of results. So for
Yeah,
anybody that's listening, if you don't know why, you better find your why. And I always say this, almost think of it like an onion. It's that you might say like, why do I want to have no low back pain? Because I want to exercise more. Why do you want to exercise more? Because I want to get in shape. Why do you want to get in shape? It's because I want to live longer. Why do you want to live longer? It's because I want to have a life where nothing's off limits, and I really want to have a life where if I have kids, I can be there for them, and I'm not going to be sidelined by them. And so I always say you get to a point of why, and I'm getting this sense of emotion for myself. You cut down that layer of the onion so much so that it can literally like, put you to tears. And so the fact is, obviously for you, Ray, I'm crying inside because I am so happy that you look like $1 million. You reached out to me, like you sent me like I'm doing 300, 400 pounds, and you're sending me a picture of like you shirtless, and you're like I lost 25 pounds too. That means the world to me. So
yeah,
my why for what I do is because I love to see my clients succeed. I love to see my clients happy, and your sense of why is like getting back to that. That's what drove you to
yeah,
your results. So if you're really looking for a quick fix, I'm probably not the right person to help you.
yeah,
I probably will push your buttons and you will leave the gym, like not want to work with me ever again. But yeah, it's for anybody that's looking for a challenge, Ray, or like looking for solutions, or whether they're considering working with me, what would you say to them in general?
you got to ride it out. Like, something I didn't really touch on is there will be setbacks through the process. Like, you might feel better one day, next day you might feel like worse than when you started, but you just got to trust the process. It's all part of it. Like, it's not all uphill. There's definitely going to be days where didn't feel this bad in the beginning, but you just got to trust it, and you got to just work through it.
Yeah.
And then as long as you stay consistent, you'll get to where you want to be. And just don't make excuses. You can't make excuses, because if you made excuses, just be like, it hurts, I'm not going to do it. And then you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I'll end it with that note, man. So we touch. Hopefully, we touched on so many good subjects in terms of strength training, not letting fear govern your thoughts. We talked about MRIs. We talked about mental resilience. We talked about psychology. We talked about having a good sense of why. So hopefully, from my standpoint, like I feel rejuvenated. I feel like I have a even better sense of like my own purpose. Hopefully, that a lot of people that are listening had a great sense of what can be possible, especially you are dealing with a lot of chronic pain. Ray is a great example of what you can be, what you can do, as long as you stick with it, stay brutally consistent, and you can get there without pain. And Ray's a good testament to that. He is having like literally 12 out of 10 pains pretty often. And I'm glad that you're doing well. In any case, Ray, I don't know if you have anything else to say to the crowd or anything that you want to end with, but for the most part, this was a great talk, speaking with one of my, obviously a good friend, but also one of my best clients.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything else, Ray, you want to say?
I think I touched on everything.
Perfect. All right, man. It's great catching up with you, and we'll touch base, and I'm sure that we'll see each other either in the gym or on the court sometime soon.
Yeah.
All right, man. Cool. Talk to you soon, man.
Later.